We continue with leadership, but now we want to talk about moving from being an entrepreneur to become a leader. So moving from being an entrepreneur to become a leader will involve that the business is expanding, the business is growing. Because if the business is not growing, then there's no point becoming a leader. Growth for the business would have meant that the business needs another approach. The owner of the business needs to transit from being an owner to becoming a leader. That's what we're talking about today. So moving from entrepreneur to a leader. Who is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is that individual who has set up a business through it. Taking the risk is to set up a business. That makes an entrepreneur. So an entrepreneur is an individual who takes the risk to set up a business with the aim of making profits. So there's risk involved. Why is risk involved? Risk is involved because that individual has put its own savings into the money, its savings into the business, knowing or not knowing if it's going to make profit or not. So it's a risk because it is uncertainty. It is full of uncertainty. It's a probability. The business might be successful or might not be successful. But whatever happens to that business, the chunk of it goes to the owner of the business. That is why we call it a risk. So here I wrote, an entrepreneur is the individual who takes the risk to set up a business with the aim of making profits. The role of entrepreneur is likely to change due to the following reasons. So whenever there's growth within the organization, the entrepreneur has to transit from being that entrepreneur, from being the owner of the business, to become a leader. And what does that involve? Number one, number of employees. As soon as the business starts growing, the number of workers involved will be more than what it used to be. So the approach has to change. Two, the size and number of financial transactions. When as a small business, your transaction might be 1, 2, 3. But as soon as the business becomes bigger, the transactions might move up to 10, 20, 30, which means it needs a lot of strategy, it needs a lot of expertise, unlike when it was just a small business. 3, number and size of customers. As soon as the business expands, the number of customers that the business will attend to will be more than what it used to be. So it needs a style, it needs an approach. The fourth one, amount of regulations. Now that the business is becoming bigger, it might involve government regulations. So the business has to understand the regulations, and because as soon as the business becomes bigger, government will start checking on there will be modalities. There will be standards that the business has to reach. As a result, different regulations will come up which the business has to take care of. The quantity of resources used. As soon as the business becomes bigger, the quantity used in terms of raw materials, in terms of resources, will be more because output will have increased. Growth will mean that there's more output. So with more output, you need more input. So all the resources needed at that point in time that the business is becoming bigger will be more than what it used to be. So level and range of communication needed. As soon as the business becomes bigger, the involvement of entrepreneur with the owners will change in terms of how they communicate. Information that passes across will be more and will to more people than what it used to be. So as a small business, you might have maybe 5 to 10 workers. But as soon as the business becomes bigger, up to 20, 30, 40, 50 workers, you might need a formal means of communication. So that means there's a need to change the approach in terms of how you communicate with your employees. And not only employees, even to the customers. So therefore, the transition from entrepreneur to leader is likely to require a number of changes in the way the business is run. That is, as soon as they are moving from being an entrepreneur to become a leader, it will change the way your business is being run. So becoming a leader will involve the following needs. So that means there are some needs that have to be met when you are changing, when you are transiting from being an entrepreneur to a leader. So the need for formality. When talk about the need for formality, what is that like? The transition may involve the approaches used in terms of communication. It has to be more formal as business grows. Your method of communication, the way you pass information will have to be different from what it used to be. Why? Now you have to officially deal with people because the business is growing, the business is expanding. It has to reflect in your approach in terms of information dispatches. So, the need for shared ownership. As the business grows, it may need capital expansion. It may need capital for expansion. This will need the involvement of investors who become shareholders. As business becomes bigger and as it becomes bigger, as business continues to grow, the business might need capital. And to get capital, you need to involve investors. And involving the investors will mean that there's going to be share capital. So the number of investors will also determine the amount of shares available for you as the owner of the business. But definitely, because the business is growing, the need for finance will always be available. The need for finance will always be there. As a result, you might need to involve investors. The next one, greater responsibility to others. As business grows, more employees are needed, which means the entrepreneur has to think about the leadership style needed. When you have 4, 5 workers, as soon as business expands to you having 50, 60 workers, you need a leadership style, you need a leadership approach. Because the way you have to deal with employees now, you have to be responsible. You have to be responsive to them. And to be responsive to them will mean that you have to be able to keep them. So the approach has to be different from when it used to be a smaller business. The need for motivation and inspiration, because you're going to deal with different kind of people, you're going to deal with different dynamic people, you're going to deal with different kind of people. So you need the group, because at that point in time, you need to deal with a group, different groups, and with different diversity. So what can you do as an entrepreneur? You have to understand which approach you need to use to keep them motivated, to keep them growing and happy. So to do that, you need the leadership style. The need for strategy and vision. As an entrepreneur, you might not have, as soon as business expands, it might be difficult for you to keep up with daily activities of the business. So what can you do? You need to involve a lot of experts, you need to involve different managers, so that you can, as the owner, to be able to focus on strategies. So because you want to focus on strategies, you need to employ managers to take care of day in, day out activity. And that makes you a leader. So these are ways in which, or the needs that has to be met before an entrepreneur transitions to become a leader. An entrepreneur is the owner of a business. When you have a small business, you might not need to use any leadership style or leadership approach. But as soon as the business starts expanding, as soon as you think about growth in the business, then it is important for you to move